To most people, Florida appears as a collage of sunlit beaches, glass towers, and a coastline that never seems to sleep. But beyond the roads and resorts, the state reveals a quieter truth. This is a Florida shaped by deep time, unsettled and largely unchanged. Here, open wetlands stretch until land and sky blur together. Fresh water moves slowly through fields of rivergrass. Beneath the surface, limestone layers hold vast underground systems carved patiently by water over thousands of years. The wetlands move to a rhythm that existed long before the modern world arrived. Here, nature isn't arranged for an audience. It follows its own rules. Alligators drift silently through dark water. Mangroves grow thick and tangled, forming natural walls along the shore. Florida's wilderness doesn't announce itself. Its power is quiet, steady, and undeniable. This is the side of the Sunshine State few people ever take the time to see, a place where the wild still has the final word and the land continues to tell its own story. Siesta Key is a barrier island on Florida's southwest coast, located between Roberts Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. It sits just west of the city of Sarasota and is part of the larger North Port to Bradenton to Sarasota area. In the 1800s and early 1900s, the island had different names, including Little Sarasota Key, and was mostly undeveloped. In 1907, early developers began shaping the northern end of the island by digging small bayous and building docks. For many years, the only way to reach Siesta Key was by boat or ferry, until the first bridge connected it to the mainland in 1917. A second bridge was added in 1927, making travel easier and helping the island slowly grow. By 1952, the entire island was officially known as Siesta Key. The island stretches about 8 miles long and is best known for its white quartz sand, which stays cool even on hot days. The calm, clear waters of the Gulf make the beach a peaceful place for swimming, walking, and enjoying the view. Today, Siesta Beach is recognized as one of the best beaches in the world, known for its natural beauty and relaxed island feel. Before we continue, here's a quick question for you. In what year did Florida officially become a U.S. state? Comment your answer below. Key West is only about 90 miles from Cuba, closer to Havana than to Miami by air. That short distance has filled this island with layers of history, culture, and stories most visitors never expect. For a long time, this island sat on busy sea routes, making it a stop for sailors, traders, and even pirates looking for shelter. Later, its location turned Key West into an important naval base for the United States, helping protect the waters of the Florida Straits. Because it lies at the southernmost point of the continental US, the island feels more connected to the sea than to the mainland. Key West is small, only about 4 miles long and 1 mile wide, which makes life here feel close and personal. Writers and artists were drawn here by the calm pace of life, including Ernest Hemingway, who spent many years living and working on the island. Today, walking is the best way to explore Key West, as narrow streets lead past gardens, old houses, and hidden courtyards. Clear water surrounds the island, offering beaches and easy access to swimming, snorkeling, and other water activities. Honeymoon Island wasn't always a place for romance or relaxation. It was once called Hog Island, home to native Tocobaga people, and later marketed in the 1940s as a dream escape for newlyweds. The island sits across St. Joseph Sound from Dunedin and the nearby coastal towns. Separated from the mainland by calm, shallow waters. In 1921, a major hurricane split the original barrier island in two, creating Honeymoon Island and Caladesi Island, with Hurricane Pass flowing between them. During the early 1940s, small thatched huts were built here and promoted through newsreels and magazines as a quiet getaway for couples. When the United States entered World War II, the huts were abandoned and slowly worn down by wind, salt, and storms. In the 1960s, plans were made to turn the island into a large residential area. And a causeway was built in 1964 to make access easier. Those plans ended in 1969 when the permit expired. And the state later purchased the land instead of allowing development to continue. Despite welcoming over 1 million visitors each year, large parts of Honeymoon Island remain undeveloped, with dunes, pine forests, and wetlands protected as part of the state park. From above, Fort de Soto doesn't look like one park at all. It's 5 separate islands, stitched together by bridges, tides, and time, sitting right at the mouth of Tampa Bay. Together, these 5 islands form Fort de Soto Park, a 1,136-acre area sitting right at the entrance of Tampa Bay. Because of this location, the islands have always been important for both nature and defense. These habitats support a wide range of wildlife, including fish, shorebirds, and more than 328 bird species recorded in the park. Fort de Soto is also a key stop on the Great Florida Birding Trail, especially during spring and fall migrations. On the North Beach, endangered loggerhead sea turtles return each year to lay their eggs in protected sand. Park managers work to remove invasive Australian pine trees, so native plants can stabilise the shoreline and protect nesting areas. Today, visitors can explore the park through trails, kayak routes, fishing piers, and beaches, while the land continues to serve both people and wildlife. Next up, we're heading to Jupiter, a sunny town at the northern tip of Palm Beach County that's famous for its giant red lighthouse. It lies just north of West Palm Beach and far enough from Miami to feel calmer, but still connected to South Florida life. The town's name comes from a long chain of misunderstandings, starting with the Hobe native people and ending with the Roman god Jupiter. That mix of history still lingers, especially near the Loxahatchee River, where native tribes once lived and important battles were fought. One of Jupiter's most famous sites is the Jupiter Inlet Lighthouse, standing watch over the coast since the 1800s. Jupiter's beaches feel wide and open, shaped by steady ocean winds and clear Atlantic water. Because this coastline juts farther into the ocean than anywhere else in Florida, sailors have relied on it for centuries. The climate here is warm most of the year, with sunny winters and summer afternoons often ending in quick rain showers. Between the brave history and the beautiful nature, it makes sense why Jupiter is officially ranked as one of the happiest seaside towns in the country. Some places just feel different the second you get there. Anna Maria Island is exactly one of those places. Stretching just 7 miles along Florida's Gulf Coast, this narrow barrier island is shaped by water on every side. It sits between the Gulf of Mexico to the west and calmer bays and sounds to the east, creating 2 very different coastlines in one small place. Long before Europeans arrived, the island was part of the safety harbour culture area for centuries. The people who lived here depended on fishing, shell tools, and coastal travel to survive. In the 1500s, Spanish expeditions sailed past the island while entering Tampa Bay nearby. They made landfall on the mainland, leaving the island quiet and largely unchanged. In the mid-1800s, fishermen and maritime settlers began to form small communities along the shore. In 1922, the first bridge connected the island to Bradenton, making travel easier for visitors and residents. Even then, development stayed limited, with low buildings, simple streets, and open shoreline. Today, Anna Maria Island is known for clear Gulf waters, calm bays, and beaches that still feel open and relaxed. Would you visit this place? Comment 1 if you've been there, or 2 if it's on your bucket list. Destin sits along Florida's Emerald Coast, where the land forms a narrow strip between open Gulf waters and a calm bay on the other side. This location gives the city two very different coastlines, one shaped by rolling waves and the other by quiet, sheltered water. Long ago, this strip of land was a barrier island, slowly changed by hurricanes and rising seas until it became part of the mainland. Destin began as a fishing settlement in the mid-1800s when Captain Leonard Destin arrived and made his living from the surrounding waters. The beaches here stand out for their soft white sand and clear water that shifts from pale green to deep emerald as the light changes. To the east, Sanderston developed into a resort area, known for organised beaches, shops, and higher-end dining. The rest of Destin feels more local, with marinas, neighbourhoods, and daily life centred around the harbour and bay. Below the surface, the clear water reveals reefs, fish-filled shipwrecks, and frequent dolphin sightings, making the area popular for snorkeling and diving. If you're looking for a place where you can truly relax like you're on vacation, while still building a strong and exciting career, Tampa might be exactly what you're looking for. Beyond its world-class theme parks, the city has also become a major hub for technology and finance. Home to numerous Fortune 500 companies and growing opportunities, sitting along Florida's Gulf Coast, Tampa is shaped by the calm waters of Tampa Bay and Old Tampa Bay, giving the city a relaxed coastal rhythm. Its roots go back to the 19th century, when it began as a military outpost with the founding of Fort Brooke. Later, the arrival of the cigar industry transformed the city. Today, Tampa's economy stretches across tourism, healthcare, shipping, construction, and maritime trade. The Port of Tampa, the largest in Florida, quietly moves billions of dollars in goods each year and connects the city to the wider world. Life here balances work and leisure in a way few cities manage to achieve. The warm climate makes outdoor living part of everyday life, from boating on the bay to walking through shaded parks. Forget the old rankings. As of 2025, Clearwater Beach has officially been crowned one of the 15 best white sand beaches in the world by Travel Plus Leisure. This isn't just a local favourite anymore. It's a global powerhouse outperforming the biggest names in travel. What sets Clearwater Beach apart starts with the sand itself. Soft and white, shaped by the calm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. The beach stretches for about 2.5 miles along a barrier island, keeping the shoreline protected and the waves gentle. Warm water, steady sea breezes, and an average temperature around 75 degrees make this place easy to enjoy year-round. Hotels, restaurants, and shops sit just steps from the sand, turning the beach into the centre of daily life instead of a distant attraction. Families come for the calm water, couples come for the sunsets, and travellers of all ages find space to slow down. We use information from many sources, so if you notice anything or have more to add, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. What if we told you the Florida Keys aren't just islands, but the exposed remains of an ancient coral reef older than human history itself? Scientists now know this entire island chain was shaped by major sea level changes. That once covered all of southern Florida with a shallow ocean. Over 100,000 years ago, coral reefs grew here underwater, slowly building up layer by layer along the edge of the Florida platform. When ice ages caused sea levels to drop, parts of those reefs were exposed and hardened into limestone. That limestone now forms the base of the Florida Keys, especially in the upper and middle islands like Key Largo and Elliott Key. Some islands were shaped from coral reef stone, while others formed from sand and marine debris carried by tides and currents. The islands curve southwest toward Key West, following the original line of the ancient reef. Just offshore lies the Florida Reef, the only barrier reef in the continental United States. This reef system stretches for about 170 miles and supports more than 6,000 marine species. Because of this history, the Keys feel more like the Caribbean than mainland Florida. Miami isn't just a city in Florida. It functions as a bridge between continents, with deep cultural and economic ties that stretch far beyond the United States. Downtown Miami holds one of the largest concentrations of international banks in the country, quietly powering connections between North and Latin America. This influence has helped shape the city into one of the wealthiest urban economies in Florida and one of the strongest in the United States. With more than 300 high-rise buildings, Miami's skyline reflects its rapid growth and global ambition. Many of these towers rise directly from the edge of the water, giving the city a look unlike anywhere else in the country. Nearly 70% of its population has Hispanic roots, bringing Latin rhythms, languages, and traditions into everyday life. This blend of cultures is why Miami is often called the gateway to Latin America. Its location, set between the Everglades and the Atlantic Ocean, gives the city both natural beauty and strategic importance. Warm weather year-round continues to draw visitors from across the United States and beyond. Fernandina Beach is known as the Isle of Eight Flags. France, Spain, Britain, Mexico, the Confederacy, and the United States all ruled here at different times. These changes were not symbolic. Each shift came from real struggles over power, trade, and territory. Long before European ships arrived, the Timucuan people lived on this island and called it Napoica. In 1811, Spain officially planned the town of Fernandina, naming it after King Ferdinand VII. It became the last Spanish city ever platted in the Western Hemisphere. Within just a few years, control of the island changed hands again and again. During the Patriot War and a series of private takeovers. Short-lived republics were declared here, flags were raised, and then replaced almost as quickly. During the Civil War, the island shifted once more, ending up under Union control. Even the town itself moved south to meet the railroad, reshaping Fernandina into what it is today. What remains is a small coastal city layered with centuries of conflict, ambition, and survival. Long before Miami existed, water spilled over Lake Okeechobee and began a journey more than 100 miles long. Not as a river you could follow, but as a sheet of water spreading across the land. This slow movement created what we now call the Everglades. The water moved south from central Florida across flat, porous limestone. That held water instead of letting it run away. In the wet season, Lake Okeechobee overflowed and released fresh water into a shallow flow nearly 60 miles wide. This flow was slow and shallow, earning the Everglades its name as a river of grass. These connected habitats form one large system, not separate places. The Everglades is home to one of the richest collections of wildlife in North America. More than 360 species of birds live or pass through this wetland each year. Wading birds like herons, egrets, ibises, and roseate spoonbills depend on shallow water to hunt for fish. In the water, manatees and bottlenose dolphins move through coastal areas connected to the Everglades. Both alligators and crocodiles live here, one favouring freshwater and the other staying closer to saltwater mangroves. The Everglades is also home to many snakes, fish, frogs, and insects that form the base of the food web. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge crosses Tampa Bay and connects St. Petersburg with Manatee County on Florida's west coast. It opened in 1987 and is the second bridge built at this location, replacing an older structure from the 1950s. The bridge carries Interstate 275 and US Route 19, making it an important route for people travelling around the Tampa Bay area. An earlier version of the bridge stood nearby. But serious ship accidents in 1980 showed that a safer design was needed. Because of those accidents, the new bridge was built higher and stronger, with added protections to prevent ships from hitting it. Below the bridge is one of the busiest shipping channels in the United States, leading to major ports like Port Tampa Bay and the Port of St. Petersburg. From far out on the water, the bridge can be hard to see, sometimes fading into the morning haze. The roadway rises high above the bay, allowing large ships to pass safely underneath. Long before resorts and bridges, Marco Island was home to one of North America's most powerful coastal civilizations. More than 1,500 years ago, the Calusa people lived here, building their lives around water, tides, and the rich estuaries of southwest Florida. They were skilled fishers and navigators, turning the surrounding islands and mangrove channels into a natural network of survival. When Spanish explorers arrived in the 1500s, they named the island San Marcos, marking its place on early maps of the New World. Centuries later, pioneers and fishermen followed, drawn by calm waters, fertile fishing grounds, and endless horizons. Over time, Marco Island slowly transformed, from a quiet fishing village into a bridge-linked barrier island. Luxury resorts and waterfront homes eventually appeared, changing the island's face but not its soul. Marco Island today stands at a rare crossroads, where deep history, living nature, and modern life exist side by side. Biscayne Bay helps shield South Florida from rising seas and powerful storms. The bay is a shallow lagoon along the Atlantic coast, which allows it to slow down waves before they reach the shoreline. It stretches for about 40 miles and connects the open ocean to Florida Bay through a series of natural passages. Because the water is calm and protected, it became part of the intracoastal waterway used for travel and trade. Along its edges, mangroves and seagrass beds help hold the coastline in place and reduce erosion. These habitats create safe nursery areas, where young fish and shellfish can grow before moving into the ocean. Sea turtles and manatees also rely on these quiet waters, especially in the southern part of the bay. Birds gather along the shallow shores, feeding in waters that have supported wildlife for thousands of years. Biscayne Bay is protected by national, state, and local designations because of its ecological importance. Stay with us, because Biscayne Bay is just one piece of Florida's story, and there's much more waiting ahead. While most of North America was still unnamed on European maps, St. Augustine already existed. Founded in 1565, it has been continuously inhabited, longer than any other European established city in the continental United States. Established by Spanish Admiral Pedro Menendez de Aviles, the city was built to last, not just to be discovered. For more than 2 centuries, St. Augustine served as the capital of Spanish Florida, shaping the region's early history. Its name comes from the day Spanish ships first sighted land, the feast day of St. Augustine. Over time, control of the city changed hands, from Spain to Britain and then back to Spain again. Each empire left behind traces of its rule, layered into the streets, buildings, and traditions that still remain today. In 1819, Spain agreed to transfer Florida to the United States under the Adams-Onis Treaty. 2 years later, in 1821, the transfer became official, and St. Augustine entered American control. Our next stop is Naples, a sunny city on the Florida coast that's famous for its beautiful beaches and warm weather. Naples sits in Collier County along the Gulf of Mexico, where calm waters meet long stretches of white sand. Long before the city existed, this area was home to the Calusa people, who lived here for thousands of years and built their lives around fishing and coastal waters. Modern Naples was founded in 1886, when early developers promoted the area as a place with a mild climate and rich fishing grounds. They named it Naples after the city in Italy, claiming the local bay was even more beautiful than the famous European one. Growth stayed slow until roads and railways arrived in the 1920s, finally connecting Naples to the rest of Florida. During World War II, the US Army used a small local airfield for training, which later became the Naples Municipal Airport. After the war, canals were dug and marshland was reshaped to create waterfront neighbourhoods along Naples Bay. Today, Naples is known for having more golf holes per person than almost any other city, earning it the title Golf Capital of the World. Few people realize that Jacksonville began not as an American city, but as contested ground between French, Spanish, British, and native cultures. Long before modern streets and bridges, this land was home to the Timucua people, who lived along the St. Johns River and shaped their lives around its steady flow. In the 1500s, Spanish missions appeared along the riverbanks, turning this quiet landscape into a crossroads of faith, trade, and power. Not long after, the French arrived and built Fort Caroline near the river's mouth, leaving behind one of the earliest European footprints in what would become the United States. Control shifted again under British rule, when the river crossing known as Cow Ford became a vital link for cattle and travellers moving through the region. When Florida was finally transferred to the United States, a small town took shape here and was named for Andrew Jackson, marking a new chapter in its long story. Over time, Jacksonville grew outward, eventually becoming the largest city by land area in the contiguous United States. Most people see the Rickenbacker Causeway as a simple drive, but it is the main link between Miami and the island of Key Biscayne. Built in 1947, the bridge stretches 6.76 miles across Biscayne Bay, turning open water into a clear path between the city and the sea. Named after World War I pilot Eddie Rickenbacker, the causeway quickly became part of Miami's daily life and growth. As cars move forward, the view opens to bright turquoise water on both sides and the Miami skyline slowly falling behind. The bridge was designed with bike and walking lanes, letting people cross the bay while feeling the ocean wind and wide open space. In the early morning and late evening, sunlight turns the bridge and water soft shades of orange and pink. These moments draw photographers, locals, and visitors who stop to watch the city change colour. The Causeway also hosts events like marathons and bike races, making it part of Miami's cultural rhythm. Even after facing storms and heavy weather, the Rickenbacker Causeway continues to stand strong, carrying people between urban Miami and the calm world beyond. The richest place in the United States is not New York, not Silicon Valley, and not Beverly Hills. It's a small island near Miami that you can't even drive to. This is Fisher Island. Fisher Island sits about 3 miles off the coast of South Florida, separated from the mainland by the waters of Biscayne Bay. There are no bridges and no public roads, so everyone arrives by private boat, ferry, or helicopter. Since 2015, this tiny island has had the highest income per person of any place in the country. The island is named after Carl G. Fisher, a real estate developer who helped build Miami Beach in the early 1900s. Fisher later exchanged the island with William K. Vanderbilt II for an 80-metre yacht, turning the land into a private retreat for one of America's richest families. Today, Fisher Island is home to about 800 luxury residences, with residents coming from more than 40 different countries. Despite its extreme wealth, the island feels calm and peaceful. Surrounded by palm trees, clear water, and wide views of the Atlantic Ocean and the Miami skyline. Few people realize that Lake Eola is not a natural lake, but a sinkhole more than 80 feet deep, hidden beneath downtown Orlando. Over time, the city didn't erase it. Instead, it built its most beloved park around it. The sinkhole slowly filled with water and became a 23-acre lake at the heart of the city. A nearly 1-mile path now wraps around the water, creating a space where people walk, run, and gather every day. At the center of the lake stands a fountain. That has become a symbol of Orlando, shooting water high into the air. The calm water mirrors the skyline, palm trees, and passing clouds, giving the park a peaceful beauty in the middle of downtown. Surrounded by 4 major streets, Lake Eola Park functions as a central gathering place where events, daily walks, and city life meet in one location. Fort Lauderdale is often called the Venice of America, and that name comes from a very real and measurable reason. The city has more than 165 miles of inland waterways, making it one of the most canal-rich urban areas in the United States. These waterways were shaped over decades to support trade, transport, and daily life, not just tourism. Fort Lauderdale began its story in 1838, during the Second Seminole War, when the US Army built a series of forts along the New River. The city takes its name from Major William Lauderdale, whose role in that conflict left a permanent mark on the region's history. After the war ended, the forts disappeared, but the location remained important because of its access to the Atlantic Ocean. Modern development did not arrive until the early 20th century, when Fort Lauderdale was officially incorporated in 1911. Its deep connection to the sea later shaped a strong marine economy, focused on shipbuilding, repair, and navigation. Today, Fort Lauderdale is known as the yachting capital of the world, with over 50,000 registered yachts and more than 100 marinas. The city's warm climate, averaging around 75 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, allows boating activity in every season. Sarasota's story began long before modern Florida, appearing on Spanish maps as early as the 18th century. Explorers sailed along this Gulf Coast shoreline, drawn by calm waters and a protected natural bay. The name Sarasota has uncertain roots, possibly linked to native languages or early Spanish explorers like Hernando de Soto. Permanent settlement grew slowly until the late 19th century, when American pioneers arrived along Sarasota Bay. The city changed direction in the early 20th century, when wealthy patrons invested heavily in arts and culture. The Ringling family made Sarasota their winter home, bringing theatres, museums, and performing arts to the city. This influence turned Sarasota into one of the strongest cultural centres in Florida. The natural setting supports that calm, creative spirit, with gentle Gulf waters and warm coastal light. Sarasota is also famous for its beaches, especially for sand made almost entirely of fine white quartz. That quartz sand stays cool under the sun, making long beach walks comfortable, even on warm days. Mild winters later attracted visitors from colder states, shaping Sarasota into a popular seasonal destination. In 1920, a visionary named Joseph Young arrived in South Florida with a bold plan to build his very own dream city. He envisioned a paradise where the Atlantic beaches connected to man-made lakes and deep-water canals for giant yachts. To turn this wilderness into Hollywood, he hired the same chief engineer who built the famous Panama Canal. During construction, 1,500 tractors worked day and night to carve streets out of thick tropical bushes and swampy land. When the city lights were switched on for the first time, ships at sea actually thought the coast was on fire and rushed to help. Young spent millions of dollars building schools, churches, and golf courses before becoming the city's first mayor in 1925. The town quickly became a famous haven for snowbirds, people who traveled south to escape the freezing northern winters. By 1960, Hollywood had grown into a massive community with over 12,000 family homes and thousands of hotel rooms. Even though a giant hurricane nearly destroyed the town in 1926, the community rebuilt everything to be stronger than before. Today, you can still walk down Hollywood Boulevard and see the original Mediterranean style that Joseph Young dreamed of a century ago. Castillo de San Marcos is the oldest masonry fort still standing in the continental United States. It sits beside Matanzas Bay in St. Augustine, guarding the coastline since the 17th century. Construction began in 1672, after a pirate attack destroyed much of the surrounding settlement. Spanish engineers chose coquina stone, made from compressed seashells, because it absorbed cannon fire instead of breaking. The fort's star-shaped design allowed cannons to cover every possible approach by land and sea. English forces attacked twice in the 1700s, yet the walls were never breached. Control of the fort changed peacefully between Spain, Britain, and the United States as treaties reshaped Florida. In 1821, it officially became part of the United States, following a diplomatic agreement with Spain. During the 1800s, the fort was used as a prison for Native American leaders. Today, Castillo de San Marcos remains a powerful reminder of endurance, conflict, and changing ideas of freedom in American history. Virginia Key was born from violent hurricanes in the 1800s, when storms cut a new inlet through a long strip of land and separated it from what is now Miami Beach. This break in the land, later called Norris Cut, turned part of the old barrier island into a new island sitting between Biscayne Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. At first, Virginia Key had no buildings, no roads, and no name. Just mangroves, shallow water, and shifting sand shaped by tides and storms. During segregation, black residents of Miami were banned from most public beaches in the city. In 1945, civil rights activists protested this injustice, leading to the creation of Virginia Key Beach as the only public beach open to black families. At first, people could only reach the beach by boat, crossing the bay with food, music, and beach supplies. That changed in 1947, when the Rickenbacker Causeway connected Virginia Key to the mainland by road. Over time, the beach became a central gathering place, with picnic areas, a carousel, and space for families to spend the day together. Along the Atlantic shoreline, Daytona Beach developed around a stretch of sand so hard and smooth that cars could drive on it. Long before racing and tourism, indigenous Timucua people lived here, building villages near rivers and depending on tides, fish, and forests. European settlers later arrived, bringing plantations, roads, and forced labor. That slowly reshaped the land and erased native communities. In the late 1800s, railways and seaside hotels turned the area into a growing destination for travelers from other parts of the country. The beach itself became the city's most unusual feature, as its compact sand allowed early automobiles and motorcycles to race directly on the shore. At the same time, the city's mild weather made it a place where people could enjoy the ocean year-round. Hurricanes and strong storms have damaged Daytona Beach many times, especially in the early 2000s, forcing the city to rebuild and adapt. Today, Daytona Beach reflects layers of history, from indigenous roots to racing culture, all shaped by the land, the water, and constant change. Keep watching, because Daytona Beach is only one chapter, and Florida's story continues beyond this shoreline. St. Petersburg Beach grew out of several small seaside communities that later joined together along Florida's Gulf Coast. At first, the new city kept the longer name St. Petersburg Beach, which often caused confusion with the nearby city of St. Petersburg. To fix that, local residents voted again in 1994 and officially chose the shorter name St. Pete Beach. The city sits on a barrier island, which means it stands between the open Gulf of Mexico and the calmer waters of Tampa Bay. Because of this location, the beaches here are wide and soft, with bright white sand and clear green-tinted water. Over time, oceanfront resorts and restaurants developed along the shore, turning the area into a popular vacation spot. Unlike fast-paced cities, life here moves at a slower rhythm, shaped by tides, sunsets, and warm coastal breezes. Being part of the Tampa Bay area also makes St. Petersburg Beach easy to reach, while still feeling separate from the mainland. Today, St. Pete Beach is known as a place where local history, relaxed beach culture, and Gulf Coast scenery come together naturally. Ready for a sunny stop that mixes beaches, river views, and local culture? This is Fort Myers, Florida. Fort Myers sits on the Caloosahatchee River in southwest Florida and is known as the gateway to the region. The downtown area feels lively and easy to explore, with places to eat, shops to browse, and water views all around. Just nearby, Fort Myers Beach is a favourite for swimming, fishing, water sports, and sunset walks by the sea. Nature is a big part of the city, with calm waterways, bird-filled parks, and warm weather almost all year. Fort Myers also has a growing art scene, with galleries, theatres, and festivals that bring the city to life. Long before today, the Calusa people lived here by fishing the waters, and later the city grew during the Seminole Wars. Famous visitors like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford helped put Fort Myers on the map as a winter escape. After Hurricane Ian in 2022, the city recovered well and is ready to welcome travellers again. Orlando is a large city in Orange County, Central Florida. And it is best known for its famous theme parks that attract millions of visitors every year. The city feels busy and exciting, with entertainment, shows, and attractions happening all day long. Orlando is also very diverse, with communities from India and Brazil, which means you can find many kinds of international food. Besides theme parks, the city has gardens, museums, and lakes that give visitors quieter places to explore. The weather in Orlando changes clearly by season, with warm springs, hot and stormy summers, mild falls, and cooler winters. The best time to visit is spring or fall, especially April, when the weather is comfortable and rain is low. Summer is hotter and more crowded, so outdoor activities can feel tiring during the day, thanks to its mix of city life and fun attractions. Orlando is a popular stop for travelers visiting Florida. Port St. Lucie is a growing city on Florida's east coast, located between Orlando and Miami, and it has quietly become one of the largest cities in the state. The area has a long history, with its name dating back to the 1500s, making it one of the oldest European place names still used in the United States. Early communities formed along the St. Lucie River, where families lived, farmed, and depended on the water for daily life. For much of the 1950s, this land was mostly empty, made up of fishing camps, small farms, and wide open space. Everything changed when new bridges and planned communities connected Port St. Lucie to the rest of Florida. Neighborhoods like St. Lucie West and Tradition helped turn the city into a center for jobs, entertainment, and modern living. Even during hard times, the city kept investing in roads, research centers, and healthcare facilities. What makes Port St. Lucie special is how it blends quiet rivers, green spaces, and family-friendly neighborhoods into one place. More than 100 years ago, there was no road to the Florida Keys. Only open ocean, strong currents, and an idea many thought was impossible. What stands here today began as one of the boldest engineering risks in American history. At the center of that vision was the 7-mile bridge, stretching across open water in a place where land barely exists. It was first built in the early 1900s as part of Henry Flagler's Overseas Railroad, designed to carry trains across the sea to Key West. Workers lived on small islands and temporary camps, facing heat, storms, and isolation as they laid steel and concrete over the ocean. When powerful hurricanes later destroyed large sections of the railroad, the bridge did not disappear. Instead, it was transformed, rebuilt to carry cars and trucks, becoming part of the Overseas Highway. Today, 2 bridges stand side by side, one still carrying traffic, the other preserved for walkers and cyclists. Beneath the road, the bridge also carries fresh water and communication lines, quietly supporting life across the lower Keys. Millions visit South Beach every year, yet most never learn how fragile its beginnings were. In the late 1800s, this area was farmland, used mainly for coconut growing, not tourism or entertainment. It was also completely cut off from mainland Miami, making travel and development slow and difficult. In the early 1900s, John Collins and the Lummis brothers began planning a small oceanfront town. But progress depended on one risky project. That project was a bridge connecting Miami to the beach. And when money ran out, construction nearly stopped for good. In 1913, Carl G. Fisher stepped in with financial support, allowing the bridge to be completed and the area to move forward. 2 years later, South Beach officially became part of the new town of Miami Beach. Growth came quickly in the 1920s, but it was followed by destruction when a major hurricane hit in 1926. From that point on, South Beach was shaped by repeated cycles of rebuilding, change, and adaptation. Florida is often described as bright, fast, and easy to love. But the longer you stay, the more you notice the quieter details that don't show up on postcards. Places where history fades into the landscape and nature keeps moving at its own pace. From shifting wetlands to barrier islands, from calm springs to open water, each place tells part of the same story. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next journey.